And welcome back to another one of our great podcast video casts.
Episodes of
Episodes.
100% Fresh with Two Chef Mission.
And we're so happy that you joined us. We're going to be talking about a few different things, but today we're focusing on the topic of what it's like running a business as a couple.
Yep.
And I feel like we're pretty qualified to say,
Are we qualified?
I mean, we're married, 7 years? Almost 7 years, yeah.
Almost. It's not. It's. Okay, well, it's almost 7 years in this sense. This year it'll be 7 years, but it's 6 years. But.
And, we've been in business for, 6 years.
A lot of that time.
Yeah, 6 years almost. 5-6 years.
We're get married, start a business. Let's go.
I feel
then have some children.
Yeah,
and make it. It's I know. It's no, but it's funny because it's get married. Well, actually, buy a house, get married, then business, and then children 1, children 2, and children 3, and you're it's all chaos. Just load the chaos on.
It's like going to a buffet and just continuing to pile food on. It's like one of those cartoons where they show this is how you should eat at a buffet, and they just pile a crap ton of food on top of each other, and you're just yeah, no, that's too much.
I don't like buffets are not my thing.
No, I know buffets aren't your thing. That's why you're kind of giving me that look of
That's not how you do it.
Yeah. Well, anyways, back
this
to
is
the
not what
topic
our
at hand.
episode is about. So, running a business as a couple.
Yeah, so we're definitely gonna dive into some pros, some cons.
Yeah.
Trying to find some good balance in the middle of it all.
Now, a little backstory is that we worked together.
Yeah.
Before we were dating.
Yeah, we did. Back in our Disney days. Yeah,
2014.
14.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So. Ironically, we worked together even before we started a business together.
Yeah, we've been around each other for quite some time.
Gosh, too long.
God, almost 10 years. It's 9 years this year.
You ignored my too long?
Yeah, I heard you say too long.
It was did you ignore it?
Yeah, I was just passively ignoring it. I was you know what, it was there. It happened. Mm-hmm. Just keep going. But...
Yeah, so we kind of had the experience of already working... Bless you. Of working together. Man, your Sneezosaurus self made me lose my thought.
So sorry. But, I mean...
So we already had some experience working it. I think that was where I was going, and then I was I don't know where I went from there.
And I think some of the benefit of working together, so I'm just going to kind of dive into some of my pros. Some of the benefit of working together is that when you've been working together as long as we've been working together, and I know that's not going to be everybody, especially if you're just starting out on a business, really try to focus in and learn each other's strengths. And
definitely
find out where each of you will best thrive.
Yeah, because you can't both thrive in the same thing. Obviously same business, but
yes.
If you're both I'm really good at ours is cooking, but we're both good at cooking, so that one we can both thrive in. But if we were both fighting over menu creation, then it makes it a lot more difficult with the headbutting, right?
Oh, for sure.
Whereas when you have different skills, which actually I feel like most people have different skills, you have to just find the good balance of skill sets so that, one, you're balancing your business out. Because for us, Two Chef Mission, we're the two chefs in Two Chef Mission, so we're
we're the face of it.
Yeah,
we're all aspects of Two Chef Mission.
Yeah, so
one of the biggest things with finding where each of you thrive, in our case, Melissa's super creative.
Mm-hmm.
She can create a menu off the top of her head in no time flat.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very much an outgoing personality. I
Right.
love talking to people and getting to meet people and just telling stories. And I know sometimes that gets me in a little bit of water when
Right.
I tell stories for a little too long
Mm-hmm.
and then I get distracted.
Not even just stories. You like talk to anyone and everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you make friends and then you
I
don't leave them.
virtually do not meet a stranger. For the most part, when I meet somebody where it usually clicks.
Click a mouse. Anyways. But generally you have different skills and you need to figure out which skill set is so like for
It's
Tony,
best for you.
if you're talking to someone on the phone with Two Chef Mission, you're sometimes it's both of us, but most of the time it's Tony.
Yep.
And if you I just did an FAQ about this video, but 9 times out of 10 if you're getting a delivery from us, most of the time
also
it's
done
10
by
times
me.
out of 10 is Tony.
Yeah.
Like if I'm delivering to you, it's a mistake. It's not a mistake.
Yeah.
it's I'm the introvert to his extrovert.
Yes. And I think another pro with working as a couple is that you can share a lot of time together. Now, I will say this, in some cases, that is not a pro. That can be a very big
It could be
con.
really bad.
And
Make sure you like your spouse if you're gonna
Yes.
work with them.
or just make sure you like being around them for
Yeah.
very long periods of time, because when you work a business together, you're gonna be around each other dealing with all the nitty gritty all the time, and
Yeah.
there's really no escaping it.
There's no escape. Yeah. It's definitely and that's where it's like it's all about balance.
Yeah, for sure.
Because and you also have to set because of the fact that you're working a business and then you're not working a business because you're also still married or in a relationship, however it is, right? You have to create boundaries too.
Yeah.
Because for instance, if you ever worked in a kitchen, you know that it can get tense at times. And
Oh,
that
yeah.
sometimes, things happen. So mistakes are
Yeah,
made.
I mean,
But
it's bound to happen in any field.
I think we've all been chewed out by a chef before, right?
Yeah, or by a
It
manager,
happens. Or by a
depending on what
manager,
field
depending
you're
on what
in.
field you're in, right? But the point being is that there's generally someone who's going to be in that take charge role, and there's going to be I don't want to say sidekick, but in this instance, kind of sidekick, sous chef to
the chef.
to the chef.
Basically, your second in command in the business, and
But so the thing is like for us, because we worked already together, where it was a similar role of like, okay, I'm in this case that at that setting it was I'm your expo,
yeah,
so give me my food, and it better be right.
exactly.
But we set boundaries of like when we're in the kitchen, we're in work mode. So like that tense mode of like get this stuff out and it needs to be done right. And if you mess up, then you're gonna not necessarily depending on the mess up, but yeah, you could. And the thing is we don't hold that over each other because that's just the beast of the kitchen. It just is what it is because kitchens are rough.
They can be ruthless.
They can be. I mean, we both are crazy and love it.
Yeah,
but
it's one of those things like if you can deal with super high stress, high pressure, high heat situations, then you can make it in the kitchen.
Yeah. Yeah. But also like if we're looking at a different setting, so like regular day-to-day business or things, or or if it's minor things, you have to be able to set aside that time of like, okay, these are things in our business that need to change or are going well, or things. You have to be able to also take that constructive criticism dependent on who is in that um kind of more upper role of
The person who's in charge.
yeah, the person who's in charge ultimately. um and so it you have to not have an ego in that
Yeah.
sense.
You have to be able to take what is
Mhm.
being told to you and not take it personally. And
Mhm.
that's another big thing. Like, if, again, from
Especially
kitchen
in
perspective,
well, and especially in a relationship,
yeah.
that can be really challenging.
Oh,
So
yeah, for
like
sure.
if you already can't separate that, don't necessarily work with your
Yeah.
Because
Because
significant
at the end
other.
of the day, it's like, let's say, for example, Melissa's angry at me for something that I messed up in the kitchen, and she starts chewing me out. And if I were to take it personally, well, now my entire workday is affected by it. My deliveries, any phone calls I'm doing,
Mhm.
any other prep that I'm doing in the kitchen now is going to decline in the sense that I'm not going to be as productive and it's not going to be as efficient as it normally would be. But that's because if I were to take those things personally. Now, if I just take it
Mhm.
for what it is and understand, oh yeah, I messed up and you know what, this is a valid
Mhm.
response to it.
As well as like just keep moving forward throughout the day.
Exactly. Say, okay,
So,
I took that mess up, not going to do it again. Going to make
mhm.
sure that I double check things.
Yeah, so the upside too of I would say working together is that like we both already know the shit we're dealing with stress and
Right.
business things and stuff. So it's we're both in it and are dealing with it. So you're not having to necessarily deal with everything on your own. So you already have that like partner who you're like, okay, these are the issues I'm having and I might need some help. Or like, can I bounce ideas off of you or figure things? So like menu stuff. Like
Yeah, we bounce
when,
ideas off each other all the
because
time.
fun story is that like I come up with menus off the top of my head, but that also means that I bullshit menus off the top of my head and then we'll be like, oh, this sauce will work. And then I have to create the sauce in
Yeah.
my brain and then make it work. So you have to translate it. So there's been times where it's like, okay, this thing is throwing me off and I need to figure it out. And I'm thinking these things, but how do you feel? Well, you should
Right.
do that. Because especially things like in the kitchen, because that's where we both have some more even ground because we both know our skill and our food
Yeah.
and all of that. So it's good to have someone that's in it with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I definitely agree with that because at the end of the day, you're looking to have the support of someone in, especially when you start a business. There's a lot, and I'm pretty sure there are some statistics out there. I didn't end up getting to like look it up, but there's definitely, if you don't have support from those closest to you,
Mm-hmm.
your business is more than likely going to fail, unless you don't
Mm-hmm.
necessarily care about their opinions or
Yeah, I mean, there's
about their
that, but then
support.
also if you're, it makes it hard
Yeah,
if you are getting like
any sort of
negative
backlash or
feedback all the
yeah,
time for like wanting to do your thing. So
yeah,
it's that support is definitely
it's
important
it's a
and helpful.
benefit
Mm-hmm.
to have that constant growth and support. It's like with our business, there's a lot of things that we talk about as far as different ideas, potential other business ideas moving forward.
Crazy idea time.
Yeah, and it happens all the
And
time.
it's interesting because that's where I guess like you also see that we both have the creative side
Yeah,
of things. Um whereas you're more, of course, like also like the tech savvy and
Yeah.
stuff like that, and
I try to be
and
tech savvy. Let's be serious.
I
There are
mean,
some
well,
things I
you've
don't know,
but
but
yeah, but like you figure it
I'll
out for the
yeah.
most part. So, whereas like for me, it's very much like the business oriented as well as like because I can do all of the admin stuff and as well as then create all the things.
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Now, let's go on to some of the cons. Now, I would say probably one of the biggest con with working with your spouse or significant other in a business or working together as a couple is, and this correlates with the third one where it's like the balance and separation. If you can't separate the time that is business and separate the time that is family, there's probably going to be a lot of arguments because either one or the other is going to be continually pushing that business side, saying, hey, we need to do this, we need to do this, we need to do this. The next thing you know, you're working 16 hours in the day
Like,
for your business, which, I mean, isn't unnatural to do.
should I feel called out on this a little bit?
You might feel called out a little bit on it because they're, especially early on.
I think it's gotten better.
It has gotten better, but early on in our
feel
business, you were very much like 100% like everything is the business and there's nothing else that we can
but that's
do.
also like on some level that was also when you're in those like trenches of like we have to get this out and
Yeah.
things have to grow.
No, and I can see that, but
and
there
it's
is
that
still
annoying. Well, it's also that annoying feeling of like I don't deserve to
have time off.
have time off. I should just work myself to the bone, and you're like, that's really
I
insane.
think some people might call that a workaholic.
I'm pretty sure even still like with setting more boundaries,
Yeah.
I'm still that.
You've gotten a lot better. In some cases, like you do bring okay, let's kind of focus on work.
Yeah.
Even when it's later at night. Like right now, to be completely honest, it's almost 10:30 and we're recording our podcast.
Yeah,
but it's the time that it fits in our day. The kids are asleep.
Children are sleeping.
Able to have dinner.
Because now we have to also fit in balance of like children.
Yep.
So like
time to play with them, figure out either going outside or
which
going somewhere
is
where we can have
a pro
fun.
to having your own business on many levels because you set your own schedule.
No, that is a big pro.
Yeah, but no, it's setting the boundaries is not easy, but it is necessary.
Yes.
Because otherwise, you drive someone crazy.
And I mean, it's inevitable
Yeah.
that you're going to have those times where you're looking at it and you're just consistently and constantly just pushing through.
Yeah.
But learning that okay, no, there you have to have time where either you can be a couple or you can be a family, but you have to have that time separated.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, then your business is gonna be the biggest strain on your marriage or your relationship.
Yeah.
Whatever stage in life you are.
Because there's like no relaxed time.
Yeah.
I would say like one of the others, as much as like you have to be able to have the conversations, I feel like it's kind of a con having to bring up performance of like job duties.
Mm-hmm.
If like your partner is not necessarily hitting their marks on things. So like it's a con in the sense of like it sucks to have to do.
Yeah.
Because you also like you don't want to like feel like you're getting punched in the gut.
No, for sure.
With someone.
Don't.
So
especially
it's
your
also
significant other.
But I think sometimes because I guess it could go both ways. Because it's your significant other, I guess I say it could go both ways because I could see that some people would like be like much harsher on their spouse or partner, whereas like I feel like for us, it's kind of like okay, how can I go about this where it doesn't come across that I'm like just
chewing you apart.
Yeah, when it's like okay, no, but for these things like we have to change them,
right?
Or in order to grow we have to do these things,
sure.
because that avoiding those conversations, which I would definitely be a con, is, I mean, it's detrimental to your business, but also it will all like snowball onto your relationship. So
Yeah, no,
it's very much like, I would say that the pros can all very equally be cons if you are not able to figure out the way things go. And I think that that's where having your own things
yeah.
is definitely.
And I think that's, you know, leads perfectly into, you know, that balance and separation where you really do need to be able to separate your business between X person and Y person. Because at the end of the day, the other is going to have strengths that you may not have. And when you can rely on that person and know that you can trust them to do the things that they're going to do and that the things that they need to do in your business, it's going to not only help build your trust with each other, but it's going to solidify that as a couple, you guys know you guys are meant to be together and you guys know that you guys can deal with whatever is thrown at you. And so from a marriage perspective, like, I mean, like I said at the beginning, we've been married coming on 7 years this November, and with some of the stuff we've had to deal with business, I can only imagine what it would have done to a couple who was not strong enough and ready and willing to deal with the adversity of owning a business.
Yeah.
So
I'm sorry. I'm like, I had a thought.
no, it's fine.
And man, pregnancy brain.
Yeah, it happens, and
It's
especially
the worst. It's the worst. Like, I don't. People who are like, it doesn't really. It's like, why does my brain do this? Where I'm like, remember the thing, forgets the thing.
Yeah. Well, I think
it had to do with balance and separation.
I mean, I think it's also with the territory of, you know, you being like 6 months pregnant now. You're
it's almost like heading towards 7 months, which I'm like,
exactly.
Oh my gosh.
I was like, you're heavily in.
Yeah, but like with the separation and stuff, like for instance, like we have those boundaries in place. So like for instance, when I was asked a question about like stuff with delivery, I was like, that is not a me question. That is a Tony question, because I don't do the deliveries, which is fine because like in general, I know how deliveries work and stuff. But channel like command of like that channel goes to Tony and not to me. If you have an issue,
like an order issue,
if it,
then it's talk to me or
me.
Reach out to
it's
Melissa
talk
directly.
To whoever, because we
because
gotta
we'll
deal
both
with
figure it out.
Because we gotta deal with it. But we very much have that. It's just like phone calls and stuff.
Yep.
I might have a paper written, but that's a Tony, because for me, I'm a back office.
Yeah.
Honeybooks, emails,
She's
and stuff.
very much, if you want to really communicate really well with Melissa, you deal with her in the emails, you deal with her on the back office side of things. I'm very much the one, like I said, I'm the extrovert. I'm the one in front of people. I love getting to see people.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
also on site.
Yeah.
Like if you book an on site,
I'm
like,
always gonna be the one there. Unless it's a large group, then you will get both of us.
Both of us.
Yep. Unless
Works
Melissa's
out.
still pregnant.
But see, the thing,
or had just given birth.
I'm still pregnant. I've done on-sites while I was pregnant.
Or given birth.
Yeah, that's true.
Because you need that time to rest and recuperate. And again, back to the separation in life. You gotta be able to figure that out.
I will say the other pro but it's very, I guess, to us, is like having an extrovert to your introvert is very nice, because going to events or things, it's uncomfortable, but you're like, okay, I have to do it because I'm a business owner, so I have to do the thing. But having someone who like helps break the ice definitely helps make it
a smoother transition into getting into
less
those
anxious
events.
transition.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's that's definitely a pro. But we really try with the balance and separation. Like we separate our roles.
Yeah.
And then
Like,
we really try to balance things by having time for family, and like we try to set date nights. That's not We're not amazingly great at that.
no,
but
we need to get better at that. And by that, I need to get better at that. And I understand that. But it's one of the other big things when it comes to balance and separation is, figuring out maybe a day where either you put your business on pause or you just do
Well,
light office work
yeah,
in
take
those
days
regards.
off.
Like,
Don't
enjoy
work.
some time away from your office.
Like
And
unless
if your office is at home, just, figure out where you can separate that office in your home.
Yeah, but also like if you because obviously there's some people who like work mini chunks like of the day, so it's like they have a lot more time because depending on what you're doing, whether like you're doing it in batches or chunks, so it could be a little bit different. But like for us, we have set aside Tuesdays and Thursdays as days off. We split days because we're also working as a 2-person business.
Yeah, and so
But-
we try to do that.
But we, for a long time, didn't have any days off.
No, for a long time.
And then you overfill your schedule.
It was
and then that makes
7
you...
days a week, constantly,
Yeah.
just literally
It was-
going.
And then it's like, oh, boundaries, I should set those.
Yeah, and that's honestly where we learned that, okay, no, we really need to set this.
Otherwise, we're never going to get to do anything.
Otherwise-
Especially, like, with the kids. Because, like, we'd be like, oh, we should go to the park. Or we should do this thing. And you're like, but I have to do all these, like, hours of work. And do all this craziness. And that's not going to happen. Whereas now, we have... Were you, like, just holding in a
Yep,
yawn?
I was. I didn't want it to be super
I
loud.
saw your face and I was like, what just happened?
I didn't want it to be super loud on the microphone, okay?
It's all good. I just was curiosity, But that's so leading towards tips. Our tips would be take time for yourself and your family and your relationship
Yeah, absolutely.
because it makes all the difference, because you're more likely to have issues and fights and arguments and stuff like and get like snippy with each other if you don't take that time, because then you hit this massive wall of burnout, and then you just stay there because you are working forever. Because
now this is of course our business specifically. There could be times where we're up as late as 11:30 midnight, finishing up whatever prep needed to be done, and then waking up the next morning at 4:00 in the morning, 5:00 in the morning, to be able to get started on the day. And
Plus our children,
when you run on limited hours of sleep,
plus our children don't let us sleep in.
No, they don't. They usually wake us up around 5:30.
Yeah.
But when you're running on limited hours of sleep in a high stressful environment, because running a business is not just a walk in the park. There's a lot of stress involved. There's a lot of things that are moving within that business.
It's very much like if you're expecting it to be easy.
It's going to be a rude awakening.
You listened to a bunch of liars if you thought it was going to be easy.
Yeah, I don't know who you were talking to, but...
Because it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of continuous work. Because, so, like, you look at businesses, or you look at successful people, and you're like, oh, it looks so easy. It's not. It's so many hours.
Yeah.
And so much. Like, you basically... For us, it's like we basically bleed to Chef Mission because, and then you also are like, okay, I'm doing this thing, but like, what's the next thing? Because we have to keep growing. Because if you're not learning and growing and like going somewhere, you can't just sit.
Yeah, you become stagnant, and you can't be stagnant while in business. You need to be able to be flexible and adjust and go
Yeah.
with the flow.
And you also have to like be able to be there. So like tips, right? First tip was take time for yourself.
Yeah.
I was like, gotta go backwards and rewind. Taking time for yourself as well as your family and your relationship and things like that, which would include take days off.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Because honestly, even if you're looking at it and you're like, oh, but I'm not like making the money I want and I have to do all of this. The problem is that if you hit burnout, like you're not going to be putting the effort into, because you're going to be like, I can't do it. I'm just exhausted. And you're like, because you're hitting burnout.
Also, it ends up becoming a thing where the quality of work that you're putting out is going to be severely affected. And you're not going to be able to put out what you would actually want your clients to have. And by that, your standards are going to start diminishing. And it's just going to become a snowball effect of, burnout, self-sabotage, feeling like almost like imposter syndrome. Like, why am I a business owner? I shouldn't even be a business owner. I don't know what's going on.
At different times you will
feel all of those things at some point.
But yeah, you need time off.
Yeah,
because you need to be able to recharge.
It's also a mental health thing.
Like set separation and boundaries of like answering messages from people.
Yeah.
And like do you have a tip?
I was like, within that last bit, I would say basically that leads perfectly into setting office hours. Understanding, like, be respectful of office hours that you want for your business.
Yeah, well, you have to respect your business and yourself before anyone else is going to also respect your business and also yourself.
Actually treat it like a business.
Yeah.
Because if you're treating it just like a hobby or a side hustle, you might be able to make some money, but you're not going to be fully successful.
Side hustle can be a little bit different because, like, side hustle, you're doing that in the bits of time. But if you're treating it like a hobby, it's going to be a hobby and it's not going to be. Like a side hustle, you're still working it. You're just like, okay, I got to do it in these times. So don't treat it like a hobby. Yeah. So you want it, because you're not going to get paid at first, necessarily, right? You're not. And it's going to take a long time to get there. So the thing is like, you have to pretend like, and not even pretend like, you have to work like you're getting paid what you're getting paid, because if you're not, you're never going to. Because you have to continue to up-level yourself into that. So
that's a perfect segue into personal growth. Do personal growth, build yourself up.
But also do it together.
Yes.
Because a lot of, and I've heard this, and it's like, and it feels pretty true, but it's like you're either growing together
or you're growing
apart. So, like, you can't have just one of you doing all of the work.
No.
It has to be balanced, and that's where, like, figure out what each other's strengths are.
Yep.
Because then you can separate your tasks, because then you're not both like going crazy over the exact same things. You've got, okay, you have their tasks, they have your tasks, their tasks.
Yeah, exactly.
And it works out, because otherwise you're gonna be fighting the whole time.
And that's not good. You don't want to be in a business, especially with somebody that you love, or somebody that you're looking to share a life with. You don't want to be fighting all the time, because that is going to just create leaps and bounds of separation and unbalance within your life. And I think that's a good one.
Because you're each gonna have specific strengths and then weaknesses.
Yeah.
So hopefully, like, we've kind of balanced it. Like, weakness for me is like dealing with people,
and that's
like in the like face-to-face form.
It's a good way to...
strength for Tony is talking to people and
Yeah.
things like that. But organization, it's more me
That's a her, for sure.
than Tony.
I am not organized. And, you know, it's... the kind of segues perfectly in how we make it work within our own business. And like Melissa said, you know, she's more organized, so she takes on more of the organizational role, and I am very much more the extrovert, and I can talk to people all day, so I take on more of the upfront customer service role, where I am directly in communication with a lot of our clients. And a lot of them have met me in person, or have met even one, if not both, of our boys when I take them on deliveries with me.
That's true.
So it's very much, we have to, in our business, we basically started creating these pockets of discipline where we understand, okay, Melissa's taking on more of the office work. So she's taking on that. I'm going to go ahead and take more of the kitchen work. And then when I handle deliveries, to give Melissa more time to focus on what needs to be done, I'll take the boys with me. Or I'll just take one of them while the other one hangs out.
It's very much a give and take.
Yeah.
Which is a relationship in general.
Right.
But
there's also a lot of like ebb and flow and...
well, you also have to be able to realize that you're not always going to be 100% on your game.
That's a big
there's
one.
days, especially having gone through this is our third pregnancy, right?
Yeah.
You know, one first trimester where you're just like exhaustion level. So then it's like
I had to
you have
flex a lot.
that balance of like, okay, I'm exhausted and I'm going to bed and I'm sorry, but okay, bye.
I definitely had to flex a lot within her first trimester with, you know, baby number 3.
Why it was different, because we were like more everywhere with different things. But Elias, I was not as tired, but it's just like, and it's, you have to be in for like the whatever, and it's also like it's this whole like example, right?
Yeah.
You know, you have to be able to go with the flow of things changing, because it's like, you know, you're at an event cooking for a person and you're like, this may or may not be something. I could be going into labor, or maybe not.
Yeah.
And then Wyatt was born the next day. So yeah. So you also have to, so it's like having that support. So that's where that pro comes in, of having someone who is there to help you through stuff, because communication is definitely like, tip, make sure you know how to communicate with your partner.
Effectively. Make sure you know how to communicate effectively with your partner.
Because, like, we almost, like, on many levels, relationship-wise, look at it, like, as, if we can't communicate with each other, that's a big problem.
That is the way we see it, is that's one of the biggest problems in a relationship. If you can't communicate well with each other,
it's probably not going to work very well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, we make it work by always
making sure that we understand each other and we understand what the other one is seeing.
And we know, like, if, like I said, so, like, when I'm like, I might be going into labor, might not be, we'll see that we're communicating very clear signs, you know? When Tony, other fun story, when Tony was like, my face is like really swollen.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm in massive pain. And I was like, that's not good. And then we got wisdom teeth removed, right?
Yeah. That was...
So that's where you balance on both sides.
Yeah. And there's just...
So it's expect the unexpected of life and be able to work it out with each other. Because you're going to have sick kids. You're going to get sick. And you have to deal with crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's definitely one of those that you want to be able to deal with whatever comes your way. And I think one of the best examples or quotes that I have heard on this specifically would be one of Bruce Lee's quotes.
It's like, are you gonna be water?
Talking about being like water, and just really being able to be formless and fill the mold of what you're put into, because that is going to help your business immensely to be able to take on whatever role you have to get thrown into.
Man, you like a true waterbender.
Yeah.
Right? Be like water. But it's true.
Yeah.
It's very true.
And honestly, I think that pretty much sums up some of the best ways that we make it work, not only with our own business and being a couple in a business, but also being able to have life together where we're, like I said, constantly around each other and not want to, have these huge arguments or even want to, in some cases, rip each other's throat out.
Yeah.
That gets a little crazy, but at the end of the day, you want to be able to make sure that you are strong as a couple, because the stronger you are as a couple, the stronger your business can be working it together.
Yeah. And if you're ever wondering how to better know how to communicate or be able to work or do things with your couple, with your significant other in business or not, great tools for you are 5 languages of love.
Yes.
Figure out your significant other's love language.
Yeah.
You happen to both be quality time.
Yeah.
So there's that. Figure out their personality, right? Because then you find out if they're introverted, extroverted, thinking, feeling, all that stuff, right?
Exactly.
And then also you can do their color test as well.
Right.
Because there's so many different things. But the great part of that is that, like, it's all these aspects of personality. And it teaches you a lot.
It really does. And knowing a lot of what we know through a lot of those different sort of like personality tests or, psychological tests, we end up being able to...
Are these psychological tests?
I think in some cases they are.
Like,
but
I don't know.
I know that at the end of the day, knowing what each other's love language is...
Yeah, it's a really good book. We recommend reading it together.
Yes,
that's
absolutely.
What we did.
That's one of the best things that we've done. Not, of course, outstanding from having kids and
just
enjoying vacation and life with each other.
But it's a definitely worth it book.
It helped so much to understand what the other person in a relationship was looking for.
Because relationships aren't easy.
No, they're not.
And then when you throw in a business, it gets even more not easy.
Exactly.
But,
well, we hope that you guys enjoyed it. If you're catching us on our video podcast, on her podcast.
What?
Our vodcast.
Our vodcast?
Or vidcast. I'll call it a vidcast. Why not? Make sure that you guys go ahead and leave a like and subscribe to our channel. And that way we can continue to create more quality content like this as we continue.
And it's like, and if you like us enough and don't think we're too crazy, you could always follow us on Facebook, Instagram, or TikTok, any of our social medias.
Well.
Yep. Until next time, keep it 100% fresh.